Hey, what's up, everybody? This is a slide that I put in after making the video. It got to be a pretty long video, and I'm not gonna go back and listen to it all. It's the first one I've ever done. I hope that the information will help you make your parlays. Like I said in the video, or at least in my intro video, I hope that you guys will comment. I hope you'll talk it out, build some parlays together in the comments, and let's win some money against these books. Hey, everybody. This is gonna be my first analysis video. This will be on this first slide here. We have team predictions for the NBA games on February 20th. I know there is one game on February 19th. I'll probably do a video for that if people start watching these. If not, I'm probably not gonna waste my time on one game, especially not that game. But all right, so here we go. The original model. If you didn't watch the intro video, the original model is less susceptible to noise, to players having higher games than average, lower games than average. It'll avoid making predictions that bounce off of that too quickly. The updated model has more boosting, it has more feature engineering, and if someone scores 10 points higher than average, it may predict a few points higher than the original model for them. That's why you're going to see, if you notice some of the spreads, some of the points are a little bit higher on that updated model than the original one for these team scores. So let's go ahead and let's get into some of these player stats. So how these graphs are going to work. Um, as you'll see here, we got Trae Young. It's going to go in order by team. So it's Trae on Atlanta. So that's why he's first right here. It's not necessarily the best predicted stat or whatever. So each one is going to start with the overall graph. I'll go through their home, I'll go through their away, even if they're playing the opposite, because I feel like it tells a better story if you look at all three. So here we have the models predicting him at 29.9 points. His hit rate at that, which would be 30 points or higher, is almost 30%. The waffle chart starts bottom left, goes to the top, so it works its way across. If it's green, he's hit the line, the projected line. If it's red, he obviously missed it. On the graph below, the line graph, that dotted line, that's your predicted. The solid blue line is going to be his average for the stat, so for points here. On the home and the away graphs, as you're going to see, it'll have the home average, the away average. It'll have that on there too. The colors of the dots. If it's blue, that's going to be he's already played them. So we see that blue dot down there. Not the last game, but the game before last. That was against Orlando. So he did a little bit less than 20 points there. If it's yellow, that's going to mean so any team that averages within 5 positions above or 5 positions below Orlando will be colored yellow. Green and red is just if you hit it or not. There's no significance to where the teams rank in order for points against that position. So here we can see that it's predicting 30. I mean, he doesn't hit it a lot, but he's hit it quite a bit recently. He's hit it 5 out of the last 7. Before that, he had a pretty big dip. So he is playing this game at home. Let's go on to that uh, home chart and let's see how he does there. All right, so when we look at this chart, we actually see he does worse at home at hitting this line than he does on the road. He's only 26% at home hitting it. He's hit it 1 out of the last 6 games, it looks like. So not very frequent, and a lot of those yellow dots are below the line. And remember, those are going to be the closest in statistical defensive stats to Orlando, which is who he's playing. So you can tell the purple bar is his home average. It is below his overall average by a little over a point. So I'm not sure that I would go up to the 29 on this game. Let's look at the away. Let's see how that one looks real quick. All right, so here we have his away chart. And as you can see, 4 out of the last 5 on the road, he has hit it. The only game he did not hit it on the road was against Orlando. So again, I think this may be a little bit tougher of a matchup. I know it's got him at 29, almost 30. I mean, I think I would probably take him as low as 18 and go up to 30 if you really think that he's going to continue his trend. Remember, he's at home, he is not away, so he doesn't hit it as high. So I think I would probably stay a little bit lower with Trey, even though the algorithm outputted it on this one. All right, so now we're on to Boston. We got Jason Tatum with 3 pointers. The model's predicting him at 4.2, which he's hit a little bit over a quarter of the time, 26.9%. But that point two means that all of those fours are misses. So if you look at the fours, it looks like he's got what, about 14 more three, four times, or about 14 more times that he would have hit the line if we went to four being the line. And both times that he has played against Philadelphia, he's hit four, four or five, five the last time. Looks like he's turning upwards a little bit. Boston is playing on the road. First will be the home, so let's go ahead and look at his home. All right, now we can see here Jason Tatum does not shoot threes as well at home. He's actually 3.4 average at home, 3.6 average overall, so it's not a huge deal. But his worst game against Philly was the home game. He hasn't hit five at home in quite a while, but I mean, two is very, very consistent. So two seems to be like a good lower end. Let's go to the away and check out how he's done on them. All right, as we can see here, he still doesn't average four on the road. He's at 3.85, but recently he has been doing a lot better on the road. He's got two where he's been five or better. He's got another four out of six that were four or better. So on the road, I mean, I feel pretty good actually taking him at four. If you want to just do it one Tatum bet and call it that. If you want to do a parlay, maybe take him down to two. Two looks very consistent. He's only missed it on the road 3 times all year. So Tatum looks like a good bet for threes. Um, like I said, two or three looks like a really, really good bet. I would take four. If you're feeling like it, you might get away with five on him. Who knows? Here we have Peyton Pritchard, same stat, 3 pointers. It's got him at 2.9, which he has hit 57.4% of the time. That is pretty awesome. What I hate is the ups and downs of graphs like these. Because which one are you going to get? He's got a blue dot. So where he's played Philadelphia, he did not even get a three, even though it's a good matchup. All these yellow dots, he's got them at the top, he's got them at the bottom. He is just extremely inconsistent, which, I mean, he's coming off the bench, so I'm sure some of this is games he's just getting way more minutes. I did not apply his minutes per game on this. I don't want to make it too messy, but yeah, from what I see right here, this isn't something I like to take unless I'm gonna take it as betting him at four or five at plus odds. But to put it in a parlay, this can be a parlay killer with all those downs there. All right, now here's his home graph, and they are playing on the road. So this is more just for trying to see the analysis, see if something sticks out more at home versus away. But again, ups and downs, not much is looking different from the overall graph when you're looking at his home. Here we have the away, and this is where they're playing. The beginning of the season, man, look at that. He had three, four, seven out of the first 8 games. He had three or more. And now he has what, two out of the last eight, it looks like, where he has had three or more. So he's trending the wrong direction. The algorithm, it likes how he has been in the past against predictions, but this is not one that I would necessarily take. If you want to throw him in with one, that's pretty decent. He's only missed that twice all year, so that's still pretty good odds. Two is maybe decent, but I'm not sure I would go three or higher on him, not until he shows a little more consistency. I still with Boston and now into the assist with Derek White. Um, man, early in the season, three or higher looked like a almost guarantee. but recently he's had some ones and a lot more twos. Now, looking at Philadelphia games, he has hit four and he has hit nine. So we've done pretty well against them in the past. Let's go ahead and look at the home games and see if we can find anything that sticks out. White has an away game. He averages more at home, but I think we can attribute that a lot to these outliers. He's got a 11 assist game at home, a 9 assist game at home, couple eights. So that's dragging that average up quite a bit from those fours and threes. Never had less than two, so that's good. The Philly game at home was four, which means his better game was on the road. Let's go ahead and look at the road games. So we have his best game on the road was against Philadelphia. We got that blue dot there. Yellow dots are all three or higher. So those will be teams that compare against the same position in assists defensively, pretty comparable to Philadelphia. And that looks like a pretty good bet to me. I think three or higher, three, maybe four would be pretty good. Up to six, maybe seven. You never know with Boston. I mean, they get hot, they can light it up. Everybody starts shooting. So hard to know who's going to get the points, who will get the assist, but Derek White looks like a pretty good assist bet for me on Thursday. This is much, much more of an up and down graph. Like I said, I do not like these. They're good when they can hit high, but when you never know when they're going to do that. He has hit five in both previous games against Philadelphia, as you can see with those blue dots. But he's got a yellow dot with zero, one with one. He's got some up there at seven. He's got a lot of three. Two and higher looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and analyze this a little further by location. All right, so while he's at home, I mean, there there's a whole lot more of the ups and downs. The yellow dot that was zero was at home. The one with seven were at home. So he seems to be pretty streaky at home. Let's go through the away games. He does average slightly better than on the road, but let's look at the road and see how he does there. All right, so like I said, the average is slightly lower, but if you look at the graph, I think it shows that he's been a little bit better on the road recently. So five both games in Philly. Looks like he's got five out of the last eight games has been four or better on the road. The yellow dots are a little bit higher on here. I think that two would probably be a good bet, and I think you could probably go as high as four or five again, just based on what he's been doing on the road so far. And here we have another up-down player and staff with Jason Tatum at points. Overall, as you can see, up as high as is that 45-ish, and a couple games down to 15, quite a few under 20. So, how is Boston gonna play against Philly? Let's go ahead and let's look at the home, look at the away, see if we can find anything location based on Tatum. At home, he averages actually almost 2 points less. So, this being a road game, without going to the away chart yet, I think they're looking a little bit better. So he's hit it 40% of the time at home. Not very much recently. So let's see if that away graph looks a little bit better for us. Overall, yes. He's hit 28 points almost 60% of the time. 35 against Philadelphia the last time. But man, three out of the last four look really good. And before that, you can see he missed that line. Was that two, four, six, six straight times, 8 out of 9. So coming back from the All-Star break, we're gonna hope he's rested. I think Tatum's probably a good bet to take on this. Uh, I would probably feel pretty good taking him around 25. If you feel like he can do the same before, take him up to 30. Get a lot better odds, but just with how he's been playing, 25 seems like a pretty good bet to me. With Nick Smith, Charlotte point, got him at 16.7, so 21% of the time he's hit 17 or more. He did do it against Denver. You can see that blue dot there, looking like about 19 last time. Four out of the last six, he's hit the line. Obviously, the beginning of the season, before all the injuries, the trades, and all of that, he wasn't getting the minutes, so it's going to skew it all a lot that way. Not a bad build. I'm not sure I would go that high. Still pretty inconsistent. Never know what Charlotte's going to do. Charlotte is playing on the road in Denver this game, so let's go through the location. So at home, 30% of the time he's hit the line, 60% of the time in the last 10 games, though, including against Denver. So averages uh, about 1.5 higher at home. Again, this game's on the road, so let's go and see how he does there. All right. So on the road, he's hit the line one time, and that was back close to the start of the year. He has missed it in six straight games. I don't think I'd expect him to get that high in this game. Might be able to take him for about 10, maybe. I'm not sure what happened in the last game. I haven't looked into that. Like I said, if there's further analysis you want me to do, then I can. I just want to give you guys a base layout so you guys can see more of what they're doing. I think it's easier to visualize how players have performed with this rather than with numbers. Uh, but yeah, his average is 6. His on the road, his overall average is almost 8. It looks like with recent trends, you can probably take him about 10, I would say. All right, now we are on to Cleveland, playing on the road in Brooklyn. First, we got Darius Garland with 3 pointers. If you saw the 3 point competition the other day, that stroke was looking pretty good. So we can see that he's hit two against Brooklyn both times they've already played. Pretty consistently two or higher. Last game was one. With him, sometimes you got to worry about blowouts too, because if Cleveland gets up too much and he hasn't hit them, he may not be playing that fourth quarter. Brooklyn's been playing a little bit better recently, so I don't think they'll get blown out like that, but you never know. One model's got them predicted to lose by 36. The other one has them predicted to lose by 20. So we'll see. All right, again, they are playing on the road. This is just going to be to look at the data, see if we can understand how he plays a little bit better. At home, he has not been less than 2. He has hit 2 or more every single game at home this season. Pretty impressive, and that is also why his average is almost half a 3 pointer more when he plays at home. So let's go ahead. Let's look at the road. Like I said, he's got 2 against Brooklyn both games, so let's see how he does on the road other than that. Definitely much more of an up and down graph here, but he's hit 4 different times. Four different times. So he's had some pretty good road games. A third of the time he's hit 4 or higher, since the model's predicting 3.3. So looking at this, if you want to be conservative, I mean he's hit none one game all year. He's got a lot more 1 3 pointer games on the road, but I would still give him 2, 3, probably 2 or 3. I'd probably leave it there. I don't think I'd go up to 4 on him. Right, another Cleveland shooter with 3 pointers. We got Max Strus, and we got him at 2.6. So he's hit 3 or more in 40% of his overall games. Hit in the last 3 games. Hit in 4 out of the last 6. So let's go ahead and let's see how he does location based. Right, road game. So this dip at home doesn't seem as concerning to me because hopefully he'll look a little bit better on the road. His average at home, very, very, very slightly worse, pretty much the same. So let's go ahead and look at the road and see if he's been doing better there. All right, now that's what I like to see, and that's the type of thing that I think the visualizations will show a little bit better. Is to look at the overall. You saw the climb, but you don't realize that at home, he was dipping, and he has been getting better or staying steady on the road since mid-January. So he's hit in the last 3 games on the road. He's hit two or more in the last 5 games. I think I would definitely give him. I mean, if you want to play really safe, one. I think two or three is probably a pretty good bet for Max on this game. Looking at Jared Allen, we can see he had his worst game of the year, tied for worst, was against Brooklyn here. And then the next game he got eight. So, I mean, the beginning of the year he seemed to be a little bit more up and down. Recently, it's kind of steadied off right around the 8, 9 rebounds or higher, with the spikes mostly going up. I can tell you his counterpart has definitely not been the same because I've taken graphs that look like this and bet on Mobley in the past because Mobley had done better in those games. And then Jared Allen comes out and gets 14 rebounds. So, I'm getting way more on the Jared Allen bandwagon now over Mobley, at least on the rebound side. Let's look at location base, see how he's doing. All right. The worst game against Brooklyn was at home. You can see it down there at the beginning of the season in blue. His home average is a little bit over half of a rebound more. He's hit this line, predicted line, he's hit it in 3 out of the last 4 games. But this game, these are home, he's on the road, so let's see how he's doing there. Again, so the better game against Brooklyn was the 8. You can see there, middle of December. Since that game, he's only had less than 8 in 2 different games. Let's see, was that about 11 other games? He's been higher, so I think he's he's probably going to do pretty well this game. I don't think those 2 games that were lower are an indication of how he's been doing. I like him at probably 10 or better in this game. It's got him projected at almost 13. I think 10 would be pretty safe. I could see him getting up to 12 or so, maybe even a little higher. They got Hunter in there now too, who's going to be taking some rebounds. So got to kind of see how that trade will work out too. All right, so here we have Zubac. He's played him one time before. Looks like he had, I'm gonna say that's 10. Um, so he's been pretty consistently 8 or higher. A lot of his spikes tend to be spikes in the upward direction, going up to 18 or higher, up to 22 in the one game. So let's see how he's done. Location based. The Clippers will be playing Milwaukee in Milwaukee, so they'll be on the road. So we'll start at the home. So here we have his home, and once again he had 10 in the previous matchup, which was at home. He's been 9 or higher in every single game since December 1st, and that was his 8 game. He's only been 9 or lower in 5 of his home games this year. Yeah, this is on the road, but his home average is actually less than his road average. So let's go and look and see how he's been doing there. Okay, so we have his away here now, and you can tell that the that 22 is pulling his average up. He's got lower lows on the away than he does on the home. So even though the average is higher, I don't think he's necessarily doing better on the road. It looks like at the beginning of the year he was doing a little bit better on the road, and recently it's kind of gone down a little bit. He's had a lot more eights, nines. If you want to play him safe, 8 or higher seems to be pretty guaranteed most nights. Uh, it's predicting at about 12. I think that's probably the highest I would go. I know he's got those spikes in there, but recently, I mean, he's had 7 of his last 10 games have been at 11 or lower, and only one of those was above 10. So, not necessarily the greatest pick to go on a high number, but he's consistent enough to definitely include him in a parlay if you want. All right, moving on to James Harden and assists. Last game he played against them, he had 9, and he has had 9 or better in, man, what is that? About 13 out of the last 16 games, it looks like. So James Harden has been passing the ball well, and I would assume Norman Powell has been nailing a lot of those, and Zubac dunking a lot of those. So James Harden assists looking like a really, really good bet. Let's move on location based. All right, once again, this is a road game, so this home is just to look at, to analyze, and to try to see how he's been doing. And he has been very, very good at home recently. He's had nine or better in four, 13 straight games, it looks like. So that home average is almost one assist better. Let's see if he's been doing as well on the road, or if we might want to go a little lower. So this is another one of those where a player is definitely playing better at home. He's only hit this line three times since like the end of November for the projected line. Now, this isn't the Vegas lines. These are what my model's projecting. I don't know what the Vegas line is. Last I looked, they weren't out because the games are still a couple days away. Um, but he's hit this on the road. He's hit this line 28% of the time. He's hit 10 or better, but not very many recently. Eight, he's barely even hit. In that same time frame, he's only hit eight or better two more times. 1-8, 1-9. He's had a two. No, that's a one actually. A three, couple fours. So I would probably still feel pretty safe taking James Harden at five or better. Um, Depending what that line is, probably not going to be very good. Six, maybe seven, but definitely not going for a high game on Harden. Not with how things have been looking recently. Now moving on to Denver players, the model thinks that Michael Porter Jr. will have a pretty good game. It's projecting him at 3.9. He's hit four or better in almost 29% of his overall games. The last time that Denver played Charlotte, he hit zero. So not a not a great stat there. We'll go ahead and we'll look at how he's done location based. This is a home game for Denver, and we'll look at how he did there first. So he seems to have some ups and then some downs. Um, Looks like from about November 10th until December 20th, three or less. Then he had four straight games, four or higher, back to three or less, and now he's five or higher in the last three games at home. So who knows how he's gonna shoot? Um, let's look at the away. Let's see if it's just kind of a overall thing or if it's how he does at the location. All right, so four or less in every single road game. So he definitely plays better at home. He was doing really well before the break. At home, like I said, three straight at five or higher. I would like to think he's going to come back from the All-Star break and at least have some of that left in him. I think I'd probably play him two pretty comfortably, up to maybe three or four. I don't think I'd go up to the five. It just hasn't been consistent enough for me to think he's going to come out and just shoot like that. All right, we got the Joker. Let's see. This is rebounds, which is probably one of his more consistent stats. Considering some days he's going to have 20 assists and some days he's going to have 50 points. You never know. Although a lot of times he just does it all. So here we go. We got him at 13 rebounds in the previous game against Charlotte. That's a pretty good game. It is above his average. So let's see how he does at home since this is a home game. So he's been pretty consistent at home since the middle of December. Three games at nine or less, all the rest 10 or better. Only one at 10, a lot of them higher. A lot of them 13 or higher. So I think at home, looking pretty good to at least go with his home average, overall average. Let's look at the road, see how he's been doing there. So on the road, his average is actually a little bit higher, but he's had some games that are a little bit worse, and his best game was on the road. So they kind of just evened each other out. Against Charlotte, 13. But yeah, he's been doing better at home recently for sure, and I think I would take him 10 if you want to be conservative. You can probably take him 13 to 15 rebounds in this game. He's coming back after the All-Star break. He should be pretty fresh. If you look at the beginning of the year, he had some better games. So yeah, I like Joker at 13 or better. And now we have his assists. This is recently looking really good. A lot at 9 or better. Looks like he's only had two under 9 since the start of the year. So really, really good. Let's check out his home, see how he's been doing there, because we'll see where these the lower ones are, if they're both in one location or if they're spread out. All right, so at home, 58% of the time he's hit 10 or better. He has done it, looks like all but one game since early January. Uh, yeah, that looks like this is gonna be a good one to bet. Let's look at his away, see how he does there. So his road, he does dip down a little bit more. He's got his worst game, two. Not sure what happened there. Had a six. Um, but his best game was against Charlotte. Up there, 17 assists. I don't see any reason why he can't do that again. If you want to play conservatively, maybe down to 8. I think that might be a little too low. I think 10 would be pretty good. Play him up. If you want to go a little more aggressive, maybe play him at 12, 13. See if you can hit something a little higher. All right, so we got the Joker on points because he does it all. So why not have him in here for three statistics? So same game where he got a bunch of assists, he almost got 30 points against Charlotte. Looks like he's been about 25 or higher pretty consistently all month. So let's see how he's doing location base. We got him scoring on average about 1 point higher at home. The other game was on the road against them. So he, like I said, he was almost at 30. We'll look at that here in a second. But yellow dots again, like teams, pretty consistently above 25. I see one that was below. A lot of them are actually above 30, 33 or higher. So looks like it's going to be a pretty good matchup. So pretty consistently lower scoring on the road. He's got three really good scoring games that are dragging his average up that actually make his average look better on the road. So the fact that he almost got 30 against them a couple games ago is looking pretty good. Uh, he does better at home. He's been doing better against like teams at home. I think I would probably take Joker here. Uh, yeah, I would probably take him anywhere from 25 to 35, depending on how confident you're feeling in him. Like I said, with him, there's always that issue: is he going to pass the ball and people knock him down? He gets the assist, they blow him out, and he just doesn't score as much. If Charlotte sticks around and other people aren't shooting as well, then you know he's going to get the points. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. All right, we're back to Michael Porter Jr., this time with points. You can tell from the beginning of the year was pretty consistent, 15 to 25 area, dipped down a little bit, and then he jumped way up. So I'm not really sure what to expect from him coming back from the break. The his average is 19, and it is predicting him at 27. So it is definitely being influenced heavily by those last three games. Let's look at how he's done at home and away. Right. So at least the good thing for the model is those last three games were home games. This is another home game. So hopefully he carries over from the All-Star break and comes out shooting just as well. Uh, I mean, had that one dip on the 15th of January, but other than that, he's been pretty consistent above 15 all season mostly. Started out a little slow, but once he got going, it's been 15 or better at home. Let's see how he does on the road. So he's definitely been worse on the road, a lot streakier, ups and downs, especially game to game. But he had 15 against Charlotte in the first game. See no reason why he won't at least hit that. I think it'd be pretty safe to play. If you think he's going to carry over some of that momentum, want to play him a little higher, you might put him up to 25. I don't know that I would personally go up to the projected prediction, but you never know. I mean, he was hot before the break. If that carries over and he starts hitting threes, then he could very easily hit 27, 28. All right, moving on to Indiana players now. We got Siakam with points, 45% hit rate at 22 points or higher, and pretty streaky. He has his moments where he goes up, but then the very next game he can be 20 points lower. So let's look at location based, see if he does better at home or away. So in the last month, he's been doing better at home. As you can see, he's only missed the projected line 3 times in 7 games since looks like about January 10th-ish or so. The 3 yellow dots, though, 2 are below, only 1 is above, and the one above is the farthest game away. So we can move on to the away, see if we can find anything there useful. Pretty streaky on the road. Looks like his best game was on the road. Looks like some of his worst games were on the road. Um, in the previous game that they had against Memphis, looks like he was at 17, 18, something like that. The yellow dots, a lot of those are actually below that projected line and even below his average recently. I don't know that I would go too high, go too crazy on him. 15 looks like a good bet. He almost always hits that. 20 looks decent, um, at least with recent form. But yeah, I don't think I would go too crazy on Siakam. Good matchup, but not necessarily going to be a lot of points. All right, luckily this matchup is alphabetical order. Now we got the Memphis players. So we got Desmond Bain. It is going with rebounds for Bain. He has been doing pretty well recently, but he's also dipped down pretty low. So let's go ahead and not just look at this overall. Let's look at the home and away. This is going to be a road game for him. So at home, we got a almost 29% hit rate for getting 9 or better on rebounds. It's actually pretty good for Desmond Bain. Six rebounds in the previous matchup, but a lot of the yellow dots recently have been a little lower at home, but the highest one is also yellow. So again, the yellow dots are comparative to the team that he is playing for defensive stats against his position. Let's look at the away. This is a road game. All right, so the bottom line on his road games are way more consistent. No 0, no 1. He's had 1 game with 2, but he's pretty much been 3 or better on rebounds the entire season on the road. Um, just looking at this, the last 3 road games, he's been 6 or higher. I don't know that I would go up to 9 where they have him projected, not even probably 8, but I think somewhere between 4 and 7 would probably be a good range for him. Uh, Good matchup, and he's been there again, coming back from the All-Star break, should be a little more rested. So yeah, I think 4 to 7 is a good range for him. So now we got Bang with 3 pointers. It's got him projected at 2.3. So that hit rate, almost 35% of 3 or higher. Um, I mean, overall, if you look at that, he's been doing really well. The last time he had a bad game against a team that is comparative in defensive stats was the middle of December. Every other game he has had 2 or higher. So let's check out the road, check out the away, and see how he's done there. So the last game against Indiana, home game, he had 2. Like I said, all those yellow dots, all at home are 1 or higher. But since the beginning of December, all are 2 or higher. So let's check out the road where this game will be played. Again, looks pretty good for 2 or higher, I think. Now last road game he had 6. That's a pretty great game. Game before that too, lots of 2s. I would take him if you want to be conservative with really bad odds. Take him at 1. 2 seems to be pretty safe. I would probably even take him at 3 or 4 and not be too worried about it. All right, now we got Desmond Bane's points, and that's a good looking graph right there. That is 15 or higher every day since after December 15th. So no matter the opponent, no matter the location, he's been very consistent. It looks like he had 16 in the first matchup. So let's go ahead and let's see what he's been doing on the at home. So it looks like the last game against Indiana is when he started this consistency. He had a dip down right before that, played them the beginning of December at home, and he has been very consistent ever since. Home average is actually about 1.5 points worse, but let's see how he does on the road then. All right, again, this looks pretty good for picking him against Indiana because on the road he's had one game under his season average since the middle of December, and only two games have been under 20 points. And both of those have red dots. They're not yellow, so they're not comparative defensively. All four yellow dots are above that line for his season average on the road. I think taking him at 20 would be pretty good here. If you want to go a little lower, if you can find some decent odds that you like. But I like him at 20. I like him up to 25. Um, I know I like to use Fanatics for my basketball because then I can get a little bit more point options in there. I know Bet 365, it's got to be either the line or it's got to be fives. So check out different sports books. Don't do a 20, don't do a 25 just because that's the only all you get. See if you can find somewhere where you can get a good odd at 22, 23. I think that's a real good spot to go with him in this game. Now we're moving on to Milwaukee, who has a home game against the Clippers. Bobby Portis with rebounds. He projected at almost 12, hit it 17% of the games overall. But Giannis has been out. That's part of why his rebounds have been up a little bit. Definitely not going to take him at that line. I mean, maybe he'll get it, but let's look at how he's done on the road and at home and everything. But I think that section there in the middle between 6 and 10 is probably where we're going to land. So at home, he has been, again, looks like between 6 and 10 mostly. He has that one up there at 18, long time ago. Recently, he's had one at 13, and he's had the most recent home game at 6. So again, with Giannis out, he was getting a little bit more. I would assume Giannis will be back and playing on Thursday after the break. So I would expect him more at the lower end. Let's see how he's done on the road. All right, so he's had some pretty big spikes on the road, but yeah, I think just looking at everything, knowing that Giannis should be back from everything I know, I would probably take him in the 5 to maybe 8 range. Looks like most of the season that's been pretty consistent for him. And maybe you'll get lucky and he'll spike up and get a little bit more, but especially if you're putting him in a parlay, I'd probably leave him around 6, maybe 7. Right, now we got Giannis, and I would assume will play, like I said. Don't know for sure, but he has been very consistent all year long, pretty much his whole career. Doesn't matter where he's playing. So 25 or higher, it looks like. Let's go on, look at the home, look at the road. Let's see if we want to go a little higher, go a little lower. Playing at home again, 25 or higher looks pretty safe. Missed it twice all year, both back in November. Coming back from an injury, I don't know if he'll be limited or not. Something to consider since he has missed, I don't know, 5, 6 games now. Let's look at how he's been doing on the road. On the road, it actually looks like recently he's been doing better. His last game against the Clippers was on the road. He had 35 against them, so doesn't seem to be an issue against the team to score. So again, we'll just have to see how he comes back. If he's limited in any way, I don't see any reason to take him for less than 20, even if he's limited in time. I think 25 is pretty safe. If he comes back full strength, 30, 35 would be very reasonable for him. Now we got Prince for three-pointers. Last game he had four. Looks like he's been bottoming out one to two pretty consistently. The yellow dots, he's got some down there at the one. He's got some there at the three, and his highest game, five. So let's look at the home, see if we can find anything there. All right, so his five three-pointer game was at home. Looks like most of the yellow again, a couple down there at one. Uh, three of the last four in yellow have been at three or higher. He's been getting consistently better and more consistent at home, it looks like. So I would, if you want to play him at one in a parlay, try to be a little safer. I mean, he hasn't missed that since December. Two or three looks like it could be a very reasonable option. Let's look at his away games. So a lot more up and down on the road, it looks like, but his up was still against the Clippers. There with that four, dropped right back down. The yellows went back up, dropped down, another yellow up. So looks like he plays to the team's defensive stats pretty well. Yeah, like I said, I think I would take him at two or three. Throw him in at one if you just don't feel confident in him, though. All right, another three-point shooter. We got Gary Trent Jr. He's got him predicted at almost four, and he's hit four or more in a little over 20% of the games. Hit five against the Clippers in the last game. Um, he's been up and down a lot more. I don't know. I wouldn't feel as confident in him as I would in Prince. Let's look at his road games and home games though, see if maybe something sticks out. All right, when you look at his home games, he's actually against the comparative teams, those yellow dots, he's been one or higher every single game. So three of the last four yellow dots have been four or higher. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty good matchup for him. Let's see how he's been doing on the road. So again, the best game was against the Clippers, had five there. The yellow dots are mostly three or higher, just that one down there. So maybe it's not a bad bet. Yeah, you might want to throw him in for one. Depends how crazy you want to get. Just throw him in a separate parlay maybe. Then I don't think I would throw him and Prince in the same one. But if you want to, hey, that's your call. I don't think I would go more than two or three with him. I probably wouldn't really do more than one in a parlay, though. I think might mess you up there. All right, back to Giannis with rebounds. Again, pretty consistent. Early December and before that had a couple bad games, but ever since then he has been 10 or higher, including 13 in the last game against the Clippers. So let's check out these home games. All right, so not necessarily better or worse in comparative defensive teams. Ben 10 or higher in all of the games, so that doesn't really matter. But none of the highest games are colored yellow. So I don't think it'll be one of his best games of the year, but I think it'll be a Giannis game, a 10 or higher. Let's look at the road. Actually been better on the road. Averages about two-thirds of a rebound higher on the road. And he has been 12 or higher in every game since the middle of December. That's pretty impressive. He had 13, like I said, against the Clippers in the first game. So looks like he can get in there, rebound with Zubac. I think I would probably give him in the 10. Like I said, if he's healthy, I would give him easily 10 to 13 rebounds in this matchup. All right, if you have checked out this video and you have stuck with me this far, I do appreciate it. First video, and I know it's a lot. I'm not a great public speaker, so I gotta try to get my role going, but let's move on to New York. We got Precious Achua, total rebounds. We got him projected at a little over eight, so his hit rate of 21.2% would be nine or better. If you go to eight or better, looks like he got two more on there that he hit. Uh, Kind of up and down, a little all over the place. I would assume some of these games are whenever Towns gets into foul trouble. Probably gets a little more time, gets a little more rebounds. Let's check out and see what he does at home versus away. This will be a this is a home game against Chicago. And so it looks like the home games are actually worse than the away games. By actual average, by about a third of a rebound, but that total up there at 15 is gonna pull that average up. So I think it's actually probably a little more skewed than that. A lot of those are at 5 or less. Let's look at his away game. Yeah, that definitely does better on the road. All of the away games are 4 or better, where most of the home games were 5 or worse. So, I mean, he only has 2 games that are at 4. Everything else is 5 or better on the road. And this is a home game. So he did 5 against them before, which is one of his worst home games. He does worse on the road or at home. I would not expect him to do much better. I know it's got him showing at 8. I think I would take him at 3 to 5. Probably not at all, to be honest. You know, we got his teammate, the man that I got to watch destroy my Michigan Wolverines live in a national championship in San Antonio. Very good at passing the ball. He has 8 in the previous 2 matchups. Very consistent, 4 or better, a lot 5 or better. Let's go ahead and let's look at his home and see how he does. Okay, so one of the matchups was at home towards the beginning of the season. Like I said, he got 8 in both. Most of the yellow dots, the comparative teams defensively, have all been above his average. He had 1 below. The other 5 are higher, and one of them is his highest at home. So let's see if that keeps in track on the away games. So it looks like his worst games have been on the road, which is good because this game is at home. He got 8 against them at home or on the road. He got 8 against them at home in the first matchup. And this looks like a very, very good matchup for Brunson. If you want to play him conservatively, maybe take him at 6 plus. I mean, 8 plus looks like he could very, very easily do it, especially like I said, on others coming back from the All-Star break. Hopefully he wants it. KAT stays out of foul trouble. This could be a good matchup for them, and I would take him at 6 up to 10. Uh, 10 as a stretch, but I think he might be able to get there. Now we're gonna move on to Philly, home team against Boston. And this isn't necessarily a question of can he get the rebounds, it's a question of is he even going to play? As we know, that 29% hit rate on the season is also about his chances of playing on the season. So, there was 9 against him in the previous matchup. From the overalls, sure looks like the 11 or higher is doable. Let's look at how he's done at home versus on the road. All right, home matchup. Beginning of the season, didn't play a whole lot, didn't do a whole lot when he played. Since he's come back this month, he has hit 11, 12 in the 2 games. So, uh, if you're wondering why he hit 11 and it shows right up there again, 11.1 means he didn't hit it with 11. So it shows as a miss, but I think 11 would be a pretty safe bet if he's playing and healthy. Looking at the away, again, that first matchup was when he was first coming back after missing games earlier. He got 9 still. And then after missing more games and coming back, he's been getting 11, 12. So I don't see any reason why, if he plays, he doesn't get another 11 to 13 rebounds in this game. Moving on to Phoenix, we have Booker. Phoenix is playing in San Antonio on Thursday. And shooters and assists and 3-pointers, man, what are they going to do in the game? Booker and Trey Young, I swear, if I bet assists, they get threes and points. If I bet vice versa, they get 20 assists. So Who knows what he's going to do? Looks like a pretty favorable matchup. There's a lot of yellow dots that are higher up, and there's quite a few that are lower down. A lot of spikes in his data. Let's see if we can find anything at home versus on the road that might help us. All right, now this is a road game, but these are the home stats here first. First game they matched up, he had 5 assists. Um, Looks like at home he's actually been pretty good at getting assists, but the games he's missed have been comparable teams on defense. So let's look at the road and see if that trend continues. All right, this is kind of backwards. Looks like the comparable teams defensively with the yellow dots he hit on the road recently and has missed ones that aren't comparable teams. So, but again, he's got a lot down there with three. You just don't know if he's going to be passing or shooting. I don't think I'd take him too confidently in this matchup, but he could definitely go 4 to 6 on this. It's projecting at 6. That's what it's predicted. So, yeah, I would go up to 6 if you want to use him, but I think I'd probably stay away from him. All right, we got O'Neal now with 3 pointers, 25% on the season, hitting four better. He has actually hit this line in 4 of the last 6 games total, but he's been pretty up or down. Last game he played on, he had 2 3 pointers, and after that he actually got better. So let's look at the home. Let's see if we can find anything that'll clean this up a little. So the last game was at home where he had two. Looks like a lot of the comparable defensive teams just all over the place. His best game and his worst game, both colored yellow. Nothing cleaned up too much in the home. This is an away game, so let's check that out. It just seems to be a little streaky, I guess. Had a couple highs, couple lows. Last games have been high, so we'll have to see how he comes back after this All-Star break. But based on what he did before, I can understand why it's saying predicting is 3.9. I'm not sure I would use him. Maybe at 1 if the odds are there, perhaps up to 2. But yeah, I don't think I would go very high with him. All right, now we got Anthony Simons with the Portland Trail Blazers going up against the Lakers. Got him for assist, and they got him predicted at 5.5 on the season. He is 41%, 6 or better. The two matchups against the Lakers, he's got a 4 and a 5. Had a pretty bad dip there in November. Looks like he missed a few games probably, but since coming back, 2 or higher every game, 3 or higher in all but one. So pretty consistent. A lot of the spikes going up. Let's check out how he's done at home, since this is a home matchup. Right, again, none of the games previously were at home, it looks like both were on the road. But at home, he has been 3 or better in every single game since early November. So that is consistency. Looks like every single game against a team that was comparative defensively against his position was all in a row. So he hasn't played anybody in a month that's been comparative at home, but been doing pretty well. So let's see how he's been doing on the road. So the last 2 road matchups were against teams that were pretty comparative. Have a 4 and a 6 on the assist. So I mean, he's doing better at home. He's done pretty well against the Lakers. I would assume, especially those Lakers had AD a little bit more of an interior presence. He can get in, he can dish it a little more against Doncic, I would assume. I like him at the 5. I like him up to probably, 7, maybe, maybe even 8. I think he's going to have a good game coming back from the All-Star break. Now, how will he do with 3 pointers? I've been on the winning and losing end of both of these. man, he can hit a lot of threes and he can throw a lot up and not hit as many. So let's go ahead. Let's check out the home and the away. Both of these Laker games are away. We already know he's had a 1 and a 4 in the previous matchups. Comparative teams doesn't seem to really matter. He's got good games, he's got bad games. So let's see if location will help us out. So at home against comparative teams, it looks like he's actually done a little bit worse. Looks like 1 or 2, probably 2 is probably going to be a good bet. Maybe up to 3 or 4. Let's check out his away though, real quick. Yeah, the away has been a lot more consistently on the bottom end with a lot more spikes up. I mean, 3 or better in every game this year. Home, I'm not sure what's going on there, why it's a little more inconsistent. With the way the overall looks, I think you probably want to take him 2 to 3. You might want to go up 4 if you really like it, but 2 to 3 on the 3 pointers seems like a good place to be. All right, we have made it to San Antonio and Wemby. First, we're going to have him with 3 pointers. It's got him at 2.1. That 52.2% hit rate will be for 3 or better. So, over half of his games, he's hit 3 pointers. Looks like the last game he played against Phoenix, he only got 1. Let's see how he's done at home versus on the road. Looks like comparative games, he's right there in the 1 to 3 range every single, well, for comparative teams. So this game is at home and 57%, a little bit better at home than on the road for getting 3 or better. Looks like comparative teams are all 3 or better at home. So that's a good sign. You know he likes to shoot the three. He's been off. He's gonna come back refreshed. I like him at 3 or more in this. I know it's got him at 2, but just seeing comparative teams and knowing his tendencies, I think he's gonna put up quite a few, and I expect 3 to go down. Let's look at the away real quick though. Again, I think all the away really shows more is that he just likes to shoot threes. I mean, he's hit 6 in 3 games, 5 in a couple, 4 in 5 more. So I think he's shooting threes, and again, 3, 4. I can see it this game. All right, last one we got Wemby with rebounds. It's got him predicted at almost 12, and he has been 12 or better in 43.5% of the overall games. As you can see, he hit 13 in the last game against Phoenix. Comparative teams, he's done pretty well, 10 or better mostly. Phoenix has been doing better interior though. Bull's been coming out playing a lot better. They got Richards now, so a little bit different of a Phoenix team he's going up against now than he did in early December. And I would probably take him a little bit lower. Let's see what he does at home. So at home, he has been 12 or better in 6 straight. All 3 comparative teams have been at 12, so 12 looks pretty good for the home. I still think I would take him probably a little less. Let's look at the away real quick. So definitely more consistent when he's at home. Comparative teams still mostly 10 or better on the road. This is a home game, but I think Phoenix is doing a little bit better interior, like I said. So I don't know. I would take him 10. If you really like him, take him up to 13. I wouldn't go any higher than that. Maybe even take him coming back after the All-Star break. Hopefully he'll have some legs. Yeah, take him 10, maybe up to 13. Again, this was my first video. If you made it all the way through, if you watched, I appreciate it. If you want to give it a like, subscribe, comment, talk crap to me, whatever you want to do. And I just appreciate that you watched it. So thank you, and I will try to get you some more content. Let me know what'll help you out.